angry, and he was dark, and he's always been that way. And to his credit, I will say this, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. That man is, to this day, is exactly the man I married. He has not changed, not one iota. I changed. So for that was I grew up. I was 22 when I met him. What you take at 22 and what you take at 28 are very different.
So when he was hitting you, you were still in love with him?
Yeah. We were in love. He was drunk and he would black out and he was angry and he was mad, and he would be mad about things that didn't make any sense. He would be mad about who I was going to go talk to. He would be mad about if we were at an after party for the Grammys or MTV or whatever. If, like, you know, if Jay said hi or freaking, like, it's just, I'm like, I can't keep up with all of these things. Like, these are not my battles.
I don't hear nobody out there.
So Lulu is antagonizing the F out of my baby. He got his toy. Meanwhile, this ninja was out with the next chick. It was one thing when I felt sure he was cheating in the abstract, but this was all too real. The fake name, the sneaking off to a hotel room. Who is this? I asked again. The caller hung up. Next minute, you know, she done pulled out the yellow pages, searching through to find the hotel at the airport where, what's the dude name? Eric Smith is registered. She called there. Nas answers, "Hello? Nigga, what the f*** you doing there?" He hung up. I called back again and again, but he wouldn't answer. I was furious. My heart was racing and my imagination was running wild. But I was good for giving Nas a second chance and a third chance. Still, I was frustrated, cohabiting as strangers in a relationship that barely existed. The next day, Nas wanted to talk it out, and he suggested dinner. I don't know, Nas. Doesn't Eric Smith have some place to be? I asked. Carm, what are you talking about? I told you I was in the projects all night. Come on, I'll take you to Jimmy's. Where am I going with an eye jammy? Look at my face. Carm, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hit you. I don't know what came over me. I just lost it. I swear on my daughter, I'll never put my hands on you again.
Something reminded me of Rihanna. I remember so clearly when the pictures came out with that whole thing that happened with her and Chris Brown. And the only way I can describe it was like double dips. Like I felt like, do I jump in? Like, do I say it? Because I had bruises all over my body at that time. Like that day, I remember being in Atlanta, sitting in the kitchen, and like, I was like, and I wasn't ready to walk. I just wasn't. And so I didn't say it. And honestly, because I'm not weak and I'm not like, I'm really private. I don't let people in my business. I felt like this is my partner. I chose this. We're going to do this. We're going to make it work. I stayed for years after that. And just, you keep it moving. You know, and like I said, I'm not frail. I'm not scared. I'm not
myself together, and we headed up to Jimmy's Bronx Cafe. Nas asked the host for his most quiet table, and we were quickly seated. Carm, I want to talk about you tonight, about me. We discussed what I liked and disliked, what I desired and what made me happy. He really tried to get inside my head. He insisted that he wanted us to be together, get married, have more children, and that he was going to change his ways. I loved Nas, and he was making an effort. Why give up now? I had always dreamed of having a family, so why not give it one more try? A few weeks later, Capitol Records announced the termination of its urban music department and let 30 employees go, including me. I was actually relieved. I was tired of working full time. The layoff freed me up to spend time with Destiny. Girl, how you gonna pay your bills, girl? Nas had a new group, The Firm, masterminded by Steve Stout, who nimbly finagled himself into the role of Nas's manager. Hold, please. Don't forget, when Puffy told Steve Stout, don't release that video, You Can Hate Me Now, with Nas, Diddy up on the... They both was like, yeah, let's do it. Until Diddy's mama, you know, the one he smacked in the mouth, said, I don't think you should do that. Then he ran and called Steve Stout. Steve Stout, can you stop the video? Don't release it on MTV. And Steve was like, it's already been released. You gave me the go-ahead. Diddy had to release his anger on somebody. Meek Mill wasn't in the picture then. So he went to the office and whooped his ass with a landline. This is that same Steve Stout. Steve, whom Nas described simply as corny, was certainly no street thug, but he wasn't corny. He was focused and was actually a handsome man. Steve had an odd, nervous tic and would tap his foot continuously. Steve and Tone, one of Trackmaster's producers, had created The Firm, which featured Foxy Brown and AZ. I'd had known AZ since back when he worked as a telephone operator, but I had never met Foxy. Nas introduced me to her at the studio one evening. She was a cute, brown-skinned girl with the prettiest eyes I'd ever seen. When I heard her rhyme, I said, wow, she is no joke. Let me give Carmen something. If I didn't know she was a Sagittarian, I would believe she was a Libra. Because one thing about us is we recognize beauty in all things, and we are not afraid to tell someone how beautiful they are. You got them hater bitches out there. She thinks she cute. I'm the one. Oh, you cute. And me, Nas wasn't so impressed. You can take a girl like Foxy, put her in a bowl, add a few ingredients, mix it up, and come up with another hit maker. Who did Nas think he was fooling? Foxy was a talented MC, and Nas was just insecure. He wouldn't have been working with her if that weren't the case. By July, we had moved and were settled in our new spot. It Was Written had dropped, and once again, Nas was back to his old tricks, rarely coming home, ignoring Destiny and me. We were a hobby of his, not a responsibility. His fleeting appearances in Destiny's life earned him the nickname Uncle Daddy among my family members. I objected at first, but eventually had to admit that Nas simply lacked parental instinct. It is contributed to his immaturity, okay? He's no different from all the other immature men or young men who decided to have children. I mean, hell, it's old men who have children that still lack that fatherly instinct. And I'm proud of those who do take the time to take care of their children. But it's a lot of them out there, Carmen, and I'm sorry that you had to be a victim. I decided not to have kids for several reasons, and that was one of them. I did not want to chase no nigga down to take care of his responsibilities. I objected at first, but eventually had to admit that Nas simply lacked parental instinct. One night, Destiny had a bronchial and sinus infection that congested her so badly, I took her to the emergency room. We got back to the house at 5 a.m. and found that Nas had just dragged himself home. Oh, good, you're home, I said. I need to go over to fill a prescription at the 24-hour pharmacy. Just try to soothe Destiny till I come back. Carm, just take her with you. The remote gaze that once indicated greatness to me now conveyed only coldness. The road beckoned with the release of Nas's second LP, and as usual, he bragged about how he was going to take Destiny and me on the road with him. When he went off alone on tour, I wasn't surprised, but couldn't help feeling devastated. Moving back to Long Island and its pros and cons. Although Queens was cool, it was definitely too local. To get out of the house, I took Destiny to see Mrs. Jones. Jabari's girlfriend, Shelly, was living at their place and had become like a sister to me. Shelly was very small and soft, with slanted eyes and a cute button nose. Her warm smile alone could put me at ease. The trouble was I'd already internalized Nas's behavior. I'd come to believe I could never leave Nas. Yet I hated myself for my dependence on someone so unworthy of it. I decided I needed to talk to someone and called Risa. Ironically, she told me she'd just been released from the hospital after attempting suicide. Like me, she felt lonely and was in desperate need of attention. So guess what this dummy did? The same thing. As I lay there having my stomach pumped inside out, I thought, bitch, this is what you get. Now you're the center of attention. Are you satisfied? By this time, my whole family had arrived and were waiting nervously in the lounge. When Shasha and my grandmother entered my room, I was too ashamed to face them, so I closed my eyes and pretended I was asleep. Carmen, I know you hear me, Shasha said in the same tone of voice she might have used when I was 5. Ma, she ain't sleep. Man, I would be so disappointed in my daughter. I know life is hard. Trust me. One day I'll write a book, y'all. If not, I told BFF, if I kick the bucket before her, I want you to write everything. The good, the bad, the ugly. There were times, y'all, I'm telling you, there were times, baby. But it was just, I just didn't want to give up because I would look at myself as a failure, even though there were times on this earth that I felt like a failure. I felt like giving up would create a semblance of failure. I definitely don't want to leave my family behind in pain. I'd been desperate for more understanding from Nas. Now that he was right beside me, I didn't know how to articulate my frustration, my resentment, dependency, love. How could I describe the tangled feelings that led me to such a hopeless act? There was no quick and easy explanation. Girl, you tried to murk yourself to get attention from him? If you gotta go that far, girl. I received an especially concerned call from Steve Stout. Like Nas, he wanted to know why I'd tried to take myself. Steve and I were real cool at that time, so I confided in him. It felt so good to unload. Socializing, I realized, was the only antidote to isolation. The final call was from Runette, who wondered if I felt up to going to Tracy's birthday party later that night. I grabbed my purse and went to the spa for a quick tan, manicure, and pedicure. I got my outfit together and was at the club by midnight. Hold the hell on. You just tried to commit one day and then the next day you had a friggin' party? Wait a minute, girl. The final call was from Runette, who wondered if I felt up to going to Tracy's birthday party later that night. I grabbed my purse and went to the spa for a quick tan, manicure, and pedicure. I got my outfit together and was at the club by midnight. Hold the hell on. You just tried to commit suicide one day and then the next day you had a friggin' party? Wait a minute, girl. So pause, let me say this. When I look back on the times that I was obsessed with someone, I used to be crazily obsessed with a girlfriend that I had, I want to say in the early 2000s. I was obsessed with that girl. She was a Leo. I could just, oh my God, I just loved her so much. And then finally, I had to tell myself, look, no matter what you do or don't do, the girl is not going to love you the way that you want to be loved. And as soon as I understood that, I learned that, girl, you got to move on with your life. And I was ready to open doors for other people. Okay. But when I look back on that, I really needed a hobby. So all I would do is just like work. So I never really had a hobby. All I would do is work. So when I came home, I would just sit in the bed and just cry and just think, why is this not working out between me and this girl? And now that I look back, I'm realizing, Nay, you just needed a hobby. You just maybe needed to get out more. When I think about my saddest times, it was because I was too focused on bullshit and not myself. Okay? So I understand that you do want to get out and meet people, but girl, you just tried to hurt yourself yesterday. The final call was from Munette, who wondered if I felt up to going to Tracy's birthday party later that night. I grabbed my purse and went to the spa for a quick tan, manicure, and pedicure. I got my outfit together and was at the club by midnight. All of Tracy's associates and close friends were in the club, including Puff, Rhonda, and Steve. I even spotted Left Eye from TLC. When Steve saw me, he did a double take. Here I was, getting my party on, only a few hours out of the hospital. I just smiled in his direction and hit the dance floor. No more apologies for meeting my own needs. Simply enjoying myself was a form of therapy, the cure to some of my woes. I agree, girl, but it more so seemed like you were doing it just for attention. That's right, Lulu. Nas and I flipped the coin of love and hate all the time, but the love shared between us never changed. When the phone rang the day after the party, I just knew it was him. Surely Steve would report back to Nas and tell him that I was a guest at Tracy's shindig. Steve and I were good friends, but he was Nas's friend first and foremost. I was ready for the questions. Instead, it was my friend Danae calling to fill me in on her recent trip to Virginia. As Danae went on about her recent trip, she mentioned that Bubba Chuck was home from jail and wanted to meet me.
Hey,